Community Viewpoint.
And welcome once again to Community Viewpoint. I'm John Pawlak, your host for this segment, and today's segment will deal with radon gas. So we're going to find out why that's important to us, and to talk to us today about that is Nadia Noel from University of Nevada, Reno Extension. So welcome, Nadia, to our show. And it's all up to you to tell us about why we should be worried about radon gas. I've heard this a long time ago, but many people here are probably unaware about the issues with radon gas. I was at the cooperative, whatever it's called. You did a presentation for us a few days ago, and I appreciate that. So we'll be telling the folks out in Prump about that today. So please tell us a little bit about it, would you please?
Well, so radon is a gas that's found everywhere. It's naturally occurring. It comes from the decay of uranium over time. And so over time, uranium breaks down and becomes radon gas. And since radon is a gas, it can rise up out of the ground and get trapped in buildings and homes. Breathing in radon is what increases your chances of lung cancer, especially if you are a non-smoker. And then you can't see radon, you can't taste it, you can't smell it. The only way to know if you have a radon issue is to test for the gas. And that's why the Nevada Radon Education Program is giving out free radon test kits until the end of February. And you can pick one of those up at your local extension office. And the list is on the screen right there. You can see there's 4 locations in Nye County. And there's one here in Pahrump, there's one in Tonopah, there's one in Round Mountain, and then also there's going to be a second one in Tonopah, the Tonopah Town Office. If you are not sure where to get a test kit in Nye County and you're not sure which location is best, you can always call our hotline. You might live closer to another county than one of these locations here. And if you call our hotline, which is on the bottom of the screen, we can tell you the closest location to you where you can get a test kit. And if you're unable to make it to any of these locations, you can go to our website, which is radonnv.com, and find the location nearest you. And if you're not able to do that, you can always order a test kit online, and that's just the cost of shipping that you'd be paying, and you get the free test kit in the mail.
Okay.
And then, so why is radon considered a health concern? So I mentioned before that radon can cause lung cancer, and radon's considered a group 1 carcinogen. That means we know it causes cancer in humans. It's in the same category for carcinogens as alcohol, formaldehyde, and tobacco. It's estimated to take about 21,000 lives per year in the U.S. alone through lung cancer. Radon's a leading cause of environmental cancer deaths. So if you think of things in the environment that can cause cancer, radon is number 1. It's the primary cause of lung cancer among non-smokers and the second leading cause among smokers. If you know anyone that smokes, we encourage you to have them test for radon, because smoking and being exposed to radon increases your chances of lung cancer exponentially. So tell your friends that smoke to test for radon, and if they have a radon issue, to fix it. There is an action level for radon, and it's measured in picoCuries per liter of air. Picocurie is a measurement of radiation, and that's how we measure radon. There is a national average radon level outdoors, and it's 0.4 picocuries per liter of air, and then a national average radon indoors is 1.3 picocuries per liter of air. So you kind of get the idea that radon's going to be everywhere, and that's because there's dirt, rocks, and water everywhere. And radon comes from the decay of uranium, which is in dirt, rocks, and water. So it'll be everywhere. You're not going to find a place where there's 0 picocuries per liter of air of radon. The action level of radon, according to the EPA, is 4 picocuries per liter of air. And the action level just means a level where you want to take steps to reduce the amount of radon you're exposed to in your home, to reduce the chances that you get lung cancer. And radon's really a concern inside of buildings where it's going to be accumulating to elevated levels. Outside, there's so much more air than what's inside of our home and inside a building, so that's why we want to take action to lower the level inside of a building or home. The World Health Organization also has an action level for radon, and it's 2.7 picocuries per liter of air. The EPA says between 2 and 4 picocuries per liter of air. You want to take steps to reduce your exposure to radon, and that's because it's not a safe level of radiation. I mean, we avoid nuclear material as much as possible. Like, people don't get X-rays unless they have to, and sometimes people are even afraid of their cell phones in terms of what they think is radiation, so we want to avoid radiation as much as we can. In the red on the bottom of that slide, it gives you an idea of the risk associated with radon exposure. So if you're just living at the action level for radon, it's kind of like smoking about half a pack of cigarettes a day in terms of your risk of lung cancer. So another reason to reduce the amount of radon you're exposed to. So briefly, I'm going to tell you a story about Stanley Watras. He's kind of the poster child for reducing radon levels. Stanley Watras worked at a nuclear power plant in the 1980s. And while he was working there as an engineer, the power plant was not producing any nuclear energy, and it didn't have any nuclear waste there. But the alarms in the building kept on getting set off for nuclear material being in the wrong place, and Stanley, he wonders what's going on, and he does tests to try to figure out why the alarms are going off. And eventually he decides to test his own home for radon, thinking that maybe the radiation that's coming from radon gas in his home is coming with him to work and setting off alarms. And so he tests his home for radon, and he finds out that his level is elevated, and his level was 2,700 picoCuries per liter of air, which is about 700 times the action level for radon. So literally, Stanley was at home with the radiation being released from radon, and it was getting on his clothing and on his person, and he was able to, walk to his car, drive his car to work, walk through the parking lot, and still have enough radiation on him to set off alarms at work. And Stanley actually got his home fixed for radon, and that's called radon mitigation. And so he did not get lung cancer, and no one in his family that lived in that home got lung cancer either. So it just goes to show that if you have a radon problem, it can be fixed. You don't have to burn your house down or sell it to an unsuspecting person. You can fix your home when it comes to radon. So this is about how radon can cause lung cancer, how it can cause lung cancer. When radon decays or breaks down and releases radiation, and the type of radiation that it releases is called an alpha particle, and then some of the elements it becomes when it decays also release alpha particles when they're breaking down. And alpha particles can do two things to our lung cells that are concerning. The first thing it can do is kill our lung cells, which sounds pretty alarming, but we're all alive, so we can make more lung cells. The second thing it can do is damage our lung cells' DNA. And when that happens, and our bodies don't catch that cell that has damaged DNA, and if that cell is able to reproduce, it can form cancer in the lungs. And typically lung cancer is not discovered until the fourth stage, which is terminal. Usually people don't find out until they've had a cough for a long time or have had a hard time breathing, and then they go to the doctor, and that's typically when the symptoms manifest, and the doctor tells them that, this is terminal. So we want to do everything we can to reduce the chances of lung cancer because of how long it takes for it to be diagnosed, so people have a greater chance of living a long and healthy life. The survival rate for individuals with lung cancer past 5 years is about 19%, so any prevention you can take is a good choice to make. So in Nye County, you can see that there is something called a radon potential for Nye County, and a radon potential is the chances that there will be an elevated level of radon in an area. And this map is broken down by zip code and town or city, and you can see there are a couple of colors on there. There's like a pinkish color, orange, yellow, and green. And red stands for there's about a 20% chance or greater there's going to be a radon issue, a radon potential issue in the area, and then orange is between 10 and 19.9%, yellow is 0.1 to 9.9%, and then green means there has been no elevated levels found. So in Nye County, you can see that there's a variety of radon potentials. The highest level found in Nye County is 9.2 picoCuries per liter of air, which is a little over 2 times the action level, which action level is 4. And then the radon potential, or the chance of elevated level, is 6.38%. And then the county average, which is the average level of radon found indoors, is 1.83. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that 1.3 is a national average radon level indoors in the US, and in Nye County, it's higher than the national average. So when it comes to radon, testing is the only way to know your radon level. You can't assume that your level is not going to be elevated because you look at a map like I showed previously, or because of your neighbor's test results. You have to test your own home. and that's the only way to know. If you choose to get a free test kit at one of the locations I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, or you get one online for free with paying the cost of shipping, it comes with the following items. And I want to mention that the test kit, everything in it is completely free. So you'll get the test device, which is the rectangle that has black in it, which is just charcoal. You'll get an envelope with the postage already paid for, just make sure you put your return address on there. You'll get all the directions. And on those directions, there's a link for a video if you don't want to read and you just want to watch how to test. And there's also a data sheet. You want to make sure you fill out the data sheet completely, because that's how the lab knows how long you've tested and when you started your test and where you tested in your home, and they need that information to analyze your test kit correctly. So if you have a radon problem in your home, what you're going to want to have done is called radon mitigation, and that's the process of installing a piping system that sucks up radon before it enters your home. And you can see here that there's a pipe that reaches beneath the foundation of the home, and when a mitigator installs this pipe, they create a vacuum by digging out some of the ground beneath your foundation so that when the piping is installed, it can create a vacuum so that the fan will be able to suck up radon before it enters your home, and the radon level in your home will decrease to below the action level. And the fan that is installed can either be in the attic of the home or outside of the home. When you're getting a radon mitigator, you want to hire someone that's certified and also have their Nevada contractor's license. And if you have to install a mitigation system, you want to test after it's been installed, like a day after, to make sure that it's working. And this can be done on a slab, basement, or crawl space foundation. You can also find us on social media, on Facebook or Twitter. Just search for Nevada Radon Education Program on either, and you'll find our pages. I recommend going to your local extension office for any information that you might want on radon, because they have all of that available.
That's at Calvetta and Dandelion. So thank you for stopping by, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week.